The way of life, according to Guy. I've got a story to tell you. It's a good one, this one. Let's go for a walk. I'm at my mother's house where I grew up. There's our little kitchen. Into our little garden. And that's where I used to play cricket, thundering down as Cleve's fastest bowler. So, we're going on a walk over there, into the woods. You may well be wondering where I've been for the last year. Well, I've been on a bit of a journey. And like all journeys, it began on another journey. It began in May last year. I was with my wife and two clients from Germany, Christian and Lizzie, and we were doing a trip around Senegal, going to the Bassari country to witness an initiation ceremony to bring in the rains. Well, just before we arrived at the Bassari country, I came down with a bit of a fever. And I thought this was malaria as normal, so took the medication. But 3 days later I was still feverish, and then I woke up with an intense pain in my side. So painful, I knew I had to go home. I hadn't been home for 3.5 years, but now was the time. So we managed to find a flight out of this rather obscure place called Ziguinchor to take me to Dakar and on to back home here to Bristol, where Mother Dear, just crossing the road, Mother Dear ran me into hospital to discover that I had an abscess on my liver. But more than that, behind that, we discovered that I had this thing called myeloma, which is a blood cancer. So that was a bit of a bummer, to say the least. Here we are now with the sheep. This is Lord Sinclair's house, and we're going to be walking up there, up to the toot. Hello, sheepies. So yeah, there I am, lying in my private room in Southmead Hospital. If you ever want to get the best out of the NHS, just tell them you've just come back from Africa and you're feeling a bit queasy. Straight into isolation, private room, ensuite shower and WC, and the best attention a man could have. Yeah, so myeloma. Myeloma is a blood cancer that starts in the bone marrow, in the stem cells, and it is an overproduction of a thing called kappa-free light chains. One normally has about 40 of them. I had 8,500. And these are dodgy bastard proteins that I then had to go through 5 months of chemotherapy, which was fine. That was actually building me up to then knock me down. After the 5 months of chemotherapy, I had a month break and then went back into hospital for high dose therapy and stem cell transplant, which basically means on one day they give you a drug which basically kills you, basically wipes out your whole immune system. Before going in, they had overstimulated my bone marrow to produce stem cells that get discharged into my blood, and then they collected the stem cells from my blood, and then they put them in storage, and then after giving me the high dose, they put the stem cells back in over 2 days, and that will then rebuild my immune system. But before then, you get reduced to this state called neutropenia, where you've got no white blood cells, so you're prone to any infection that comes around, and then I got thrush in the mouth. I had chronic diarrhea, and then I woke up one morning with a broken back. Literally, I broke my back by lying in a hospital bed. That was caused by myeloma, has an osteoporosis effect on the bones, and so it had weakened some of my vertebrae. Yeah, so that was not fun. The back was the worst of all of it, but I was then released from hospital just 2 days before Christmas. Went to see my brother and family for Christmas. Picked up COVID and flu from my lovely nephews, and so went back into hospital for a few days, again in isolation, and well, recovered from that. Then lost all my hair. I looked rough, and then I had January to get through. God, sorry, I keep blacking out, so to speak. Anyway, I then had a month off of treatment, January, building myself up. I then had 1 more month in February of the initial chemotherapy that I had, which a doctor described to me as, well, it's like you've spilled a load of tomato juice on the table and we've wiped up most of it, but there are a few little streaks left. So that was what that month was about. I then finished my treatment, was on nothing else, and then got whacked by shingles. And that was worse than any of the cancer treatment I'd had. That was really horrible. Just as I was getting shingles, my delightful mother, who had been caring for me all the time, all the way through, was bringing me a cup of coffee up the stairs. Had a dizzy spell, fell backwards, broke her back in 7 places, and her shoulder in one place. So she was in hospital for a week. And then 4 weeks after that, she had a stroke. And then a week after that, she had a second stroke. So Mother and I switched roles overnight. There's nothing like somebody else having a worse problem than you've got to make you feel very strong and much better. Oh, this is a much better light. Anyway, we're all fine now. The story all ends great. I am now clear of myeloma. I've beaten the cancer, and Mother is recovering well. When I was lying in my hospital bed just after they told me that I had cancer, which is a bit of a shock, as you can imagine, I was thinking to myself, what? I should think about a bucket list. And all I could think of that I wanted to do was get in a truck and drive across the Sahara. So I thought, well, at least I've been doing what I want to do in life. Anyway, so yeah, this is to sort of say I'm back on track. Sorry that I haven't been in contact with you, my dedicated list of travellers and followers. But as you can imagine, I just sort of needed my own headspace for this year. But now I'm getting back on the road. Oh, the other thing that I forgot during all this, just as I was being diagnosed with myeloma, we were putting in the second application for Geneva UK visa. So as I'm lying there in hospital, I'm thinking, well, at least my wife will be coming soon. But they rejected her again for exactly the same reason as the first time. Namely, she has a premeditated intention to overstay her visa, implicating me and my family as well, I assume, in her criminal intent. Then because I was back in England, we could apply for a different sort of visa, a spouse's visa, for her to come and join me. But she needed to pass an English test before she could do that. So, this is where the story all comes back together. I'm going back on the road, and I'm going to Morocco to meet Geneba, who's flying up from Mali, and we're going to spend a month there improving her English, because it's been impossible to teach her English by WhatsApp, with Mali having 18-hour-a-day power cuts at the moment. And then, after that, we're going to do a little trip back down to Mali. We're going to go from Marrakesh. I've bought a ex-police van with 8 seats and room in the back to have a kitchen, travelling kitchen, and Jennifer will do her stuff and I will do the driving, and we'll be going down through Morocco into Western Sahara, into Mauritania, Senegal, and then to Mali for September the 15th, when her brother is getting married. So if you would like to join me and Jennifer on a coming back together trip, a celebration of life and love and travel and Africa and, well, whatever anybody wants to celebrate, do join us. Let me know and I will send you details. Right, we're now walking through a Neolithic site, a Bronze Age settlement. This was all once grasslands. Yeah. And in a minute, we're going to reach the summit. Yeah. So as you see, I'm fit enough now to do these trips again. I'm walking 10 kilometers a day, and I feel absolutely great. I really do. I have the NHS to thank for saving my life twice over. Once with the abscess on my liver, which they had to deal with before they could start me treating my myeloma. Oh, by the way, it's very trendy, myeloma. The Queen had myeloma. I suspect Charlie might do too. I don't know why. Anyway, here we go. We're reaching the summit. I used to come up here as a kid with my brother and my mates. We had amazing dens. We just used to live in these woods. Mum never had a clue where we were. When she finally came and saw one of our dens that was perched on the cliff face, looking over Goblin Combe, she had a near heart attack. And here we go. Ooh. Et voila. There's the sea. And wheels in the distance. And this is Goblin Combe. Yeah. This is basically why I'm a traveller, I think. You know, there. That's my ideal lifestyle. Being on the move. So, if you want to join me back in Mali, or for a trip that's coming up, back on the road. Thank you for listening. Bye. What a beautiful world.